Hello and welcome to AD Mobile Entertainment. In this video I hope to share with you what we've done to our home over the last 3 years to help move from a dual fuel, gas and electric, to predominantly electric, with the addition of solar, battery storage and recently a air-to-air heat pump along with the integrated heat pump water cylinder. Our home has always had a gas boiler. All the heating system managed to do was effectively take the chill off the house. And as we came out of COVID, we decided that our best course of action would be to add a secondary heat source to the home. We decided to add a wood stove. Once the wood stove was in and running, soon afterwards we decided it would be best that now we could generate more heat, that we should attempt to keep that heat in our home. Our next move was to have our windows and doors replaced. For us, the biggest benefits of having the wood stove installed, it not only provides us heat, but we could also use it to boil water on and occasionally cook on. Our home was now warmer than it had ever been. As we moved into the winter of 22-23, we decided to switch the gas central heating off and rely purely on the wood stove. As we look at the data, we can see that from 2018-19 through to 2020-21, our gas costs were about the same, at around £550. Although we started off at around 12,500 kilowatt hours worth of gas, moving up to just over 15,000 in 2021. As we then start moving through COVID and the start of our gas increases, we'd started to reduce down our gas usage quite considerably. However, our costs remained significantly higher than they would have been pre-COVID, ending up in this year having used 2,500 kilowatt hours worth of gas at a cost of £324. As we look at our gas cost details, we can see that our usage stayed fairly consistent up towards 2022, while our cost from 2019 through to 2021 was consistent at around £500. That then started to increase the later half of 2022, just shy £700. And had it not been for the switch to wood, our costs would have doubled to nearly £1,200. If we exclude what it would have cost us for our gas, we can see that from 2021 through 2022, we'd spent around £700 on wood to help heat the house. We can see that if we start to separate down what was used for central heating and for domestic hot water, well, we could start to reduce our central heating usage from 2022. We then moved in towards 2023, where our only gas usage at this point was for our domestic hot water and hob cooking. If we hadn't started to reduce the gas usage, our costs would have been significantly higher heading through 2022 into 2023. And while the wood did come at a cost, we offset this through 2023 by actually having a £300 savings between what the domestic central heating would have cost to run versus the wood. And as mentioned previously in the video, the wood did a better job of heating the home. As our costs continue to drop heading through into 2024, we're now starting to accommodate more of our central heating through the electrical heating system that we've installed. After receiving several quotes, we eventually selected iVolts in Doncaster for our solar install. Before we could commence with the solar install, however, we had to have our old main fuse board updated. Once this was completed, we were then in a position where we could continue. If you're interested in solar, we were recommended them by a family member and cannot praise their work enough. The team are very professional. I have had other contractors work in the property and all of them who commented on how good an install they have done. So here's the numbers: 1 kilowatt south, 1.2 kilowatts southwest, and our north facing is approximately half a kilowatt power. So a little under 3 kilowatts of usable solar. Our install was done on the 19th of November 2022, so we didn't really get an opportunity to see what our system was capable of for another few months. It did, however, allow us to start making use of the battery over the winter. As part of our journey, we also moved energy suppliers. Since November 2022, we've been supplied by Octopus Energy, eventually switching to Octopus Flux in April of 23, shortly followed by switching to Flux Export once we had our export NPAN number. So, with solar now installed on our property, how have we actually done? We can see from the line graph on screen that our electrical import maintained fairly consistent. As we then started to drop through 2022 and return back to work after COVID, our electrical import started to drop, and then we continue to drop this with the usage of our solar heading through 2022 into 2023. As we can see from the dotted line, without the solar, we'd have stayed around 3,500 to 4,000 kilowatts worth of usage. We also in 23 managed to export 550 kilowatts worth of electricity to the grid. We can see, looking at the tail end of the graph, that while peak import last year was at 1,200 kilowatts, we can see that this year, as we move through 2023 towards 2024, our electrical import has started to increase. This is now with the move from gas towards a solely electric system. Effectively from 2018-2019, we're around £780, moving up towards £1,100 in 2021-22. If we hadn't have had solar, this would have then sort of moved to just shy £1,700. Instead, we managed to save over £1,000 from our own solar generated electricity, while still spending around £600. And up to May of this year, we've currently spent £350 and saved an additional £400 on solar generation. Again, without the solar generation, our dotted line would have resulted in us thus far have spent almost £1,000 on electricity. So here we can see the tracked data that I'm keeping just as a reference for how much solar we're actually generating. Our average is in the dark blue, amber and red are what we're actually producing, with this year, at least as far as April's concerned, was slightly lower than last year. Through 2023, we can see that in the winter months we had quite a high electrical import, but as we moved through to March 2023, we were about 50-50, and then as we moved through the year, effectively we were generating far more electricity than we were importing, covering most of our electrical needs. That continued through until the autumn, where we effectively start to see the sun disappear, but then our electrical import increase again. Well, we have been planning on all of the house renovation projects. The other aspect that still keeps me very busy, especially when the sun's out, as it is today, is doing work in the garden. And while it looks nice now, it has taken us a very long time to get to this point. When we moved in, it's almost 20 years ago, the garden itself had a fish pond, a dog kennel, 2 sheds, one of which was at the very bottom of the garden. A large garden, but a very large overgrowing garden. And it does take a lot of time to cut back the excess vegetation, keep the trees trimmed back. It hasn't been an easy task, and as of late, recent tool purchases has helped the process quite considerably. The biggest benefit from the development of battery-powered garden equipment, lawnmowers, chainsaws, hedge trimmers and likes of, having to invest in garden tools, having switched to solar, is that if the sun's out during the summer months and I've got my batteries on charge, there is no cost to the electricity being used as it's been charged from solar. As we progressed towards the summer of 23, we had solar and battery storage to help reduce our electrical import, a wood stove to aid with space heating. Hold on 1 minute. What about the hot water and what about the cooking? Well, I still planned on getting rid of the gas, and I had two solutions for those. The first, and the easiest to deal with, was the cooking. Moving from a gas hob to an all-in-one cooker with an inductive hob was simple enough. Cooking was now sorted. Although it wasn't without its concerns. Now, I must be honest, I was quite worried about the electrical consumption of the inductive hob, and in effectively what that would cost me compared to gas. But after several months of use, I can't say that we've noticed any significant increase in our costs. The final aspect to removing gas from the house was a solution for hot water. I wanted a system which could be run separately from the aircon but wouldn't cost a fortune to run. Not, as it turns out, an easy task. With the aircon system, I'd sent several inquiries to various manufacturers looking to get quotes. Early August 2023, I had a site visit from Richard at Bustanthi Eco to discuss my requirements. As part of the quote to supply and fit a multi-split aircon system was the supply and fit of a Mixergy IHP. Due to our family's working commitments, we couldn't start with install until the February this year, 2024. The Daikin aircon system was installed over 2 weeks in February, and while the Mixergy IHP was due to be installed at the same time, the last part of our move to a fully electric home was installed early March 2024. With the completion of our home electrification project, we can see that in March our electrical import is substantially higher than it has been in previous years. However, as we start moving through and towards May, we're on a 50-50 terms, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this progresses through the course of the summer into early autumn. The overall costings for March was £115, dropping down to £65, and concurrently in May to £40, with our air-to-air conditioning system costing us average £24 for March, £13 for April, and thus far £5 in May, with the hot water £10, £6, and currently £2.50 respectively. So overall costs, £115 for electricity in March, dropping down to £41 thus far in May in light blue. Then in grey we can see it's £61, £57 and £53 was our equivalent gas spending last year. While I've provided lines in red and purple for our hot water and domestic central heating, the air-to-air heat pump system, the overall cost thus far for March, £34, £19 in April, and thus far £8 in May. So quite a considerable saving over what we've been spending on gas, but that not only is providing us hot water, but heating and cooling the home as well. So where do we hope to be by the end of this year now that we've made all of our changes? We can see, looking at our overall costs from 2019 to 2021, they were around £1,400 to £1,500 a year for both gas and electric. Well, through 2021 into 2022, we started to add wood into the mix. We can see an increase in costs up to £2,500. Had we not started to benefit from the solar, our costs could have continued to climb up to £3,600. Well, yes, it will cost me slightly more to run our air-to-air air conditioning system over the winter. Looking at today, for example, we have the sun out. As we look through at grid import, our off-peak tariff covered our initial battery charge this morning and the air system, but this afternoon the solar is more than covering the cooling of the house. We've tried to give a nice overview to the project, how we've gone around working with the change in technologies from gas central heating and domestic hot water towards electrification of the property. Is how we've done things necessarily going to be good for everybody? That's down to yourself as an individual. For the time being, we will be looking to see what other small tasks we can get through to do. For example, changes to the conservatory to try and keep more heat in here, as this is the main office, and then slowly but surely doing other work to the property in the coming years. Thank you for your time in watching this video. I'd like to hope that you have found some of the information interesting, and as it says, I may do additional videos over the coming year that will look at certain aspects in a more individual detail, while also aiming to provide an update on my costs and usage over the summer.